First of all, mortgage broker. I don't think anyone who's listened to us for any length of time would be surprised that we think that you should have an investment savvy mortgage broker. Yep, you can go straight to the bank, no problem. Will the bank be able to get you lending? Yep, no problem. But we think if you have an investment savvy mortgage broker, they are going to be able to set you up correctly. Now, stick around for next week because we're going to unpack that a whole heap. Wherever possible, if you're swimming in the big surf, you need someone who knows what they're doing. So I don't think anyone would be surprised to hear that I think you should have a buyer's agent on your team, Ben.
I mean, again, if you're going to pay in the pro leagues, I don't know anyone who's in the pro leagues who doesn't have a coach, a fitness instructor, a nutritionist, a dietitian, all of those types of things. So it does make sense. You mentioned it earlier, Bryce, and I know we're going to go into it in this mini series in a little bit more detail, but relationships with agents is going to be critical here, right? So it just makes sense that you would have a buyer's agent in your corner because it's going to give you the edge.
But the caveat here, Ben, and I'll do it, is it's not, you don't have to, right? So I don't want this to feel like everyone's been checkpointed into a point where I've said, right, and the only way is a buyer's agent. All I'm saying, the reason I'm saying that is the context of this is in a hot market, right?
Yes.
We're not talking about a normal market or a buyer's market. We're talking about a hot market. And so, and a buyer's agent, you don't have to always have full service. They might represent you at auction or just whatever, right?
It's a fast-paced market, right? So if you're a full-time, time-poor professional and you're picking up Friday night and having a look at the new listings and then trying to get your act together for the Saturday, that property might have already been gone or it could have been off market. You have no time to dedicate to that opportunity. So I think from that point of view, it also has an advantage because it is so fast paced that if you can't dedicate the ample amount of time, you'll be off your board in no time at all. Okay, moving on. Building and pest inspections. No brainer.
No brainer.
Don't be one of these people who are like, oh, I love this property now. I've got to find my building and pest inspector. You should have done that homework earlier. And they're going to be busy. Right? So last thing you want is then having to get the B grader or the C grader building and property inspector because he's the only one available because all the others have been pre-booked. So potentially introduce yourself. Say, I'm going to be buying in this area. How much lead time do you need to be able to book you in? That's important, right?
I cannot stress what you said enough. Like we have a panel of building inspectors that we use and we're constantly checking in. What's your forward booking? If we've got something this week, where are your opportunity? Okay, you've only got from 10 to.
So by all means, that's why you've got to introduce yourself and say, look, I've read up on you. I'm really impressed by what you do. I've got 2 questions for you or 3 questions for you in terms of what do your reports look like? Do I get to talk to you after the inspection so I can clarify a couple of things from you? And, how do I get you? Do I book through your system or do I ring your mobile or whatever? Those are the types of things that are just going to be helpful for you as Absolutely. You need to move quick.
First principles. We're buying in a hot market. We're trying to get you to get planned in advance. Don't leave it to the day before to get it done. So you've got mortgage broker, buyer's agent, asterisk, the builder, then your legals rep. So whether it's conveyancer or a solicitor, depending on your budget, what you prefer, if you like full written contract reviews versus verbals, or you're just happy to make sure there's no red flags. There's a spectrum. Conveyancers obviously generally usually more cost effective than a solicitor. A solicitor has some access to specialist lawyers if it ever goes pear-shaped. Sometimes conveyancers can be 1 or 2 person shows versus solicitors who have more resource. There's a bit in that as well, right?
There's a gamut. You must get the contract vetted. It's a 101. It's the only thing that's important is pre-vetting of the vendor statement or the contract or whatever it is in your city of interest, because you've got 66 Ws are probably going to have to be executed and all of that in New South Wales. So just make sure you have that legal person ready to go, because again, you're going to need to move quick.
More on that later. Clearly, property manager. The reason I say property manager this early, because you kind of think I'm not ready for buy tenant, but because the property manager is a very useful source of intel. Talk to sales agents, they've got an agenda around getting an outcome, which is a sale. Talk to a property manager, they've got an agenda around being able to find a tenant. And they're 2 different pieces of information, and you should use both. The last 3 are a qualified property investment advisor. We've talked about that for a plan. These aren't necessarily right now for a hot market because they're not how you navigate the hot market, but up the ground, we've already talked about that. And of course, having a financial planner and an accountant on your team as well. Not necessarily in a hot market, but they are part of the defense and part of the strategy up the ground.
Yeah, I think that if you're having trouble with understanding what your goal setting is and your briefing, please use someone who is a qualified property investment advisor or a property advisor, not necessarily someone who's about buying property, but who knows the numbers. So hence go to your accountant or someone just to assess, in terms of the impact of negative, positively gearing, or what that looks like for you. That's the upstream prep that you need to do. And as I said, the other upstream prep, that if you're having trouble in articulating your goals and prioritizing your goals, having that accountability partner that can help line that up for you, very valuable.